Greetings and welcome. My name is Jake Grayson. I'm a forest gardener and a forest garden designer, and today I have brought you to Powys in mid Wales, an undisclosed secret location. I had an email from a chap who's living abroad who is interested in a piece of land and wanted me to have a look, so he's paying me to go and have a look at the piece of land. So I am doing what I would do, doing what I would do for myself, which is to have a good look around and to use my very handy forest garden planning checklist, which is on the course, and to see how suitable it is for a forest garden, basically. So there's some details about the plot. Let me turn it around. It's an amazing spot, actually. I've forgotten because I live on the border between Ceredigion and Pembrokeshire, and this is such different landscape. Big open rolling hills, like properly big. It's totally different. It really is totally different. What a landscape. My parents used to live in a place called Knighton on the border, and yeah, it is like that. It's pretty crazy. And wind, so you can see there's some wind turbines on that side. So just to give you a bit of an idea, I'm looking at one lot of land. Well, there's one lot which is 2 fields, which is I think coming up for auction. So this field, there's 2 fields. There's this field here, which is long and thin and runs down to the chapel down there. There's a caravan park that side. 2 new houses there and there. Can you see that? Go on, focus. And yeah, it looks like a newish house up there as well. South facing and steeply sloped, and you can see just where the slope starts, that line there. So this is pretty steeply sloped, and there's no dwellings on here. So anyway, the first thoughts are it's steep, and I'm going to have a look at the other bit of land as well. So I'm just going to run through the checklist, basically, because this is what I need to do for myself. It's not the highest point. There's a handy little chair which has formed part of the fence over here. This is the other field. There's a load of sheep on there. And this side is even windier. Oh, get that wind coming from the west. Whoa. Yeah, more wind turbines. You can see why they've got wind turbines up there. And this is really, this is kind of steep. There's a little plateau here, but this is really steep and goes down. I love the way that across the world people are making fences out of old bits of furniture. We've got a mattress in our fence at home, an iron mattress. It looks like a 1980s bit of furniture there. Oh, and there's a couple of horses, a black and a white horse. How funny is that? That's brilliant. I'll see if I can zoom in. Probably can't zoom in. That's amazing. Whoa, and there's a couple of buzzards. Can I zoom? Nah. Don't know if you can just see. Just around about there. There's a there's 2 horses, a black horse and a white horse. So position then. Looking at the compass orientation is good for sun. This is a good situation for sun because that's south pretty much, west, east, west, and then north, a bit higher ground up there. It's like there's a farm up there and some trees being planted. Yeah. Exposed is the one word that really springs to mind. So lots of wind breaks, and yeah, kind of hedging. I mean, they had lots of looks like hazel. Not very good with the old tree ID. Some hawthorn, and yeah, this is on the west side, so you've got to think about protection, wind protection from the west, but also you don't want it too high. And there's existing hawthorn and a range of different species in here, and there's a looks like a hawthorn hedge mostly down that side as well. And in this kind of situation, it's long and thin. In this situation, you really need to think about, because you want to step the windbreaks up the hill, so you have a series of smaller windbreaks. Rather, you can't get a great big windbreak at the bottom to provide protection. You're better off doing a series of windbreaks to give yourself protection. So yeah, and I'm fairly sure, I don't know how high up this is. This is pretty high up as well. In terms of elevation, this is kind of quite high, so you aren't going to feel the weather here. It will be colder, as I'm sure Chris, who's on the Forest Garden group, can testify as well, that a bit of elevation makes all the difference. And then the slope, this is kind of really, it's pretty steep. It's pretty steep. It's not. This is, you could live with this, but yeah, if you are doing any earthworks, then now would be the time to look at doing paths, tracks, and also any terracing that you'd want to do. Possibly not on this part. Okay, so water, no visible signs, or there's no kind of overground water visible. It's not been raining, so there's not kind of any, can't see any springs or anything coming up. And then the prevailing wind is coming from there. It's coming over the top. So what we want to look at then is what I have found really, really critical is the crikey is the where the house is. And I've asked the chap who's interested. I said, well, if you've got planning for it, or is there going to be a house on there? And he's saying he's thinking about getting planning for the land. If there is a house, well, it would have to be down that end, because the services will be down that end. Now, a very interesting thing as well is to check for, if you are doing this, then you need to check for planning. Don't buy a piece of land and then kind of go, you might not get planning for it. Yep. So it's not a given. So you can spend quite a bit of money on land and then not get the land. There is One Planet development in Wales where if you can say that you can live off the land and get so much of an income from the land, then you can build there. But that's specific to Wales. But also, you've got to be sure where the services are. So like, the services will all be, these houses will be getting electric from the electricity will be down there somewhere. So it costs money if you're putting a new house in, it costs £10,000 to get the services to the house, possibly more, to dig for the sewage and if you need to put in a septic tank and to get the electric, and so that's kind of worth bearing in mind. And interestingly, the other interesting thing about utilities is do a check on, it said on the particulars, God, it's windy, it said on the particulars that on the details of the property, that there is you really probably can't see it, the red dot, the red line is the bottom of the field. So if I hold it that way up, so that's the bottom of the field, and you can just about see a yellow line comes in. That is a gas pipeline, and it looks like it just kind of comes across in the bottom corner where you can just about see the car down there. The gas pipeline goes across the corner there. So yes, it goes through the blimey, goes up the hill. So you can't plant any trees or anything over the top of it. It needs to have access to the pipeline, which is kind of interesting. And yeah, well, so climate-wise, I am just going to go through the list. Climate-wise, this is inland, mid Wales. This is kind of quite inland. This is about 40 minutes inland. So it's kind of high, and it will be considerably colder. Now, you can get statistics for the climate from the Met Office. Will have you can get the averages for temperatures and stuff where you live. But the key thing really is to get protection from the wind. That's going to be the absolute killer thing here, is to get protection from the wind. And then the other side of it is is the existing plants that you have here. It's kind of tricky in some respects. If you've got a blank sheet, you could just say, oh, just plant the hedge that you want to grow to the final size that you want it, and that's a very good rule of thumb. You want a hedge that will thicken out, that will not need to be trimmed, and will be kind of a shrubby hedge. If you plant something like hawthorn, for my money, really is a tree. It's not a shrub, and you can make it behave like a shrub by cutting it back, and it will have multiple stems. But like here, this hawthorn here, it wants to go up. You can see the line of the line of the hedge where it's been cut, but it wants to grow. So if you've got the option, plant a hedge which grows to the final size, and plant a hedge which is like a proper shrub, a kind of shrubby hedge, or something that doesn't mind being cut, so that it fills out. You want to be doing the least maintenance as possible. Okay, yeah, I'm just getting loads of notifications coming in, which I can turn off on my phone. Okay, so next up then is existing plants. Lots of hawthorn, looks like an oak, and there's some kind of hazel, I'm not terribly sure, ash possibly, and if you let it grow, it's like, I'd be kind of two minds about what to do with what, whether it's just kind of, it looks like it's an absolutely knackered hedge there anyway, kind of leave stuff there and put something else in, or make sure that you've got someone to lay the hedge, and find out what the species is and how tall it grows, or some way of managing the hedge. And then structures. Yeah, so as I was saying, if there was to be a house here, you build a house down at the bottom. The access is just down there on the left hand side, and you want to put the house down over this side. And utilities, structures, and access. Now, as far as I can see, this is the access. This is the kind of the suitable field. Whereas the field on this side, and this is a big old field as well, but the access is absolutely critical, because that's where the house, that's where the dwelling will be, and that's where you build from. When you kind of create a forest garden, you want to start with where you live and then work outwards. So you have the high maintenance crops, the stuff that needs to be protected. You have that nearer to the house. So you'd have the polytunnel if you're growing any vegetables in a polytunnel, or any kind of perennial vegetables, you grow them nearer to the house. It's easier to keep an eye on them, and it's easier to look after them, whereas the stuff which doesn't need so much looking after is further away from the house. So for example, up here you could have, I don't know, nut trees, hazels, that kind of thing, or even apples. Privacy, it's overlooked, so I won't go down there actually, there's a sheep down there. There is a caravan park on the other side of the hill, and there's two you've been overlooked by 2 neighbours and a chapel on the east, and then there's some more caravans down the bottom. So again, hedging for protection and also hedging for privacy as well, and possibly think about setting up a I don't know, like a summer house or something up here, some sort of getaway structure. And then there is a lot of farming noise, so there's, if you probably can't hear it, there's a farm over there and another one over there, and then there's, looks like a farm building down over here, and then there's a farm buildings up here as well. Pollution would be well, it seems more like sheep country. Where we are at the moment, there's an awful lot of cow poo being spread on the fields. And what's that path? There's a kind of path carved out of the hillside over there as well. Looked like possibly a quarry or something. Don't know. Interesting. And then finally have a look at the household. What the setup is of the household. How much energy you have, as in your vitality, because it's a lot of work. It really is a lot of work. This past year I've been doing a lot of the online course live streaming, and I've started doing a forest garden landscaping, and it really has taken it out of me. I've really noticed the energy that's required. Our forest garden has been neglected, I'm sorry to say. So do think about how much energy you have for when you're starting a forest garden too, and the knowledge that you have at your disposal and the time, because it does take time. Do factor that in. I do have a live stream which I did on how much does a forest garden cost, which gives you an idea of the time, and if you were to pay someone commercially for it, how much it would cost as well, and how much money you've got, because these things do cost quite a lot. They cost a fair bit of money. Right then, so this is me. You can see that. That's my satellite plan. I just kind of printed out the satellite plan. So I'm standing right at the top of the hill here, and then I'm talking about the access is down here. These are a couple of houses, chapel, 2 houses, and the park that way. And I do have a list of things that you can write down. So like, write down what you want. Now I also have an interesting job over in Romania, which is kind of nice actually. It's all kind of via WhatsApp and Google Apps and everything. So I can videos and photographs. And what's so interesting about it is that they don't have much knowledge of forest gardening. And so yeah. Oh, did I bring a pen? I bought a pen. That's cool. Right, so what I was going to do now was so about the place in Romania, what is really important thing to do is to think about it in stages. The first thing that you want to do is to figure out where your house is going. So I'm just going to sketch on here just for the, oh Christ. Yeah. So I'm just going to sketch on here just to get you an idea. So access is down here, yep, and then as a gas pipeline comes kind of like that, something like that, maybe a bit closer to this side. So possibly, I don't know about the digging, but if there were housing planning permission given, then you'd have the house down this kind of area. So this would be an area here, and then the land starts to get very steep from around that point. Yep. So, and then to think about windbreak. So you want privacy from that side, and there. So you want privacy from the caravan site, but you also want privacy from here and here, the houses. So think that's a critical point. And then sun, if you're having polytunnel, perennial veg, close to the kitchen. So polytunnel here, massive polytunnel. And
then other trees up here, and then windbreaks possibly across, and then windbreaks all the way along here. This is an existing hedge, big old windbreaks here, and then windbreaks kind of down with some sort of path going through. Yep, so as you go that way, it's kind of lower maintenance, and this is kind of higher value trees like cherry trees and hazelnuts, things you need to keep an eye on, perennial veg, polytunnel. Yep. So, and that's steep up this from this point on, that's steep up there. Then think about like other trees. So yeah, so that's kind of handy, and it's good just to, you know, and you can just take a screenshot of a satellite plan of, if it's a large piece of land like this. This is actually quite a big old chunk of land. And let me see how big the land is. I think it's about, excuse me a second. So this land is about, in 2 plots, so this is about 3 acres. So this is massive. So like a 1 acre garden is fine for a forest garden. This is 3 acres, so it's absolutely huge. But again, I would say concentrate down at the bottom, and then have bigger lower maintenance trees at the top here, and work your way up. So the first thing, as I was saying about this job in Romania, which is such an interesting job because they don't know much about the garden, about forest gardening. Get the windbreaks in first of all. So dead hedges, and then plant windbreak hedges, and then plant the canopy layer. This is after you've kind of planned it out and worked out roughly where the paths are going to go, but you can then keep the grass down when you've got the trees in place. If you've got a big bit of land like this, then it's worth investing in a brush cutter to keep the grass down, because once you've got trees in, you can't have these little white things, these sheep. You can't have sheep, well, you can have sheep in trees, but you've got to protect each and every tree, otherwise they get chewed to pieces by the sheep. So actually the kind of easiest way of doing it is to have a brush cutter, or like a hefty mower, and then keep the grass down, mow it once or twice a year, and then you gradually, bit by bit, put the ground cover in. So that's my kind of what I say, and then do it in stages. Stage the work. Don't try and do it all within 1 year, and work from the house. I had to work out from the situation, from the house itself, work out the dwelling, and then work out outwards to the rest of the land. Okay, so the next bit I wanted to do, this is called digging with one hand. What I would always recommend that you do as well, I'm going to put these under here, hopefully that won't fly away. What I'd always recommend that you do as well is to look at the soil and look at what the soil is like. This is one of my favourite garden implements. It's a tree spade. So yeah, is to actually look at the soil and take the opportunity. So yeah, and it's kind of, it looks like, you really want to be doing soil tests and the like, but you get an idea just from this small soil sample. It's about 3 inches of topsoil. It's quite crumbly. That's quite crumbly. There's not much clay in there. It does feel like there's bedrock underneath, because it's like it stops there. Yep. Yeah, so there'll be large lumps of rock just underneath. So that's worth bearing in mind. Oh yeah. You can just see from there, that's how much topsoil there is, which isn't a vast amount. That's like 2-3 inches of topsoil, so not a vast amount. So you've got to be careful when you come to plant your trees that they have enough soil to get hold of as well. So it's worth going around the place and just and then taking soil samples. Now, yeah, same here.
Now you can build up soil as well, but something like this, you've got to be careful. If it's exposed and there isn't much soil for the tree to get purchase on, then you can be blown over quite easily. Well, the other thing you want to do as well is to test. I'm not going to do it today, I don't need to do it today, but it's a test for acidity and to test the how much clay there is, the composition of the soil, and if there's anything drastically wrong with it. So there we go. Right. I'm gonna call that a day. I'm out of practice with the old live streaming. I'm never going to do any more lawns. On this eco homes job over in Boncath, there's lots and lots of lawns, and there's lots of work doing the lawns because there's lots of kind of stuff to sort out for doing the lawns, and they're large, and I don't want to do it anymore. I'm not doing any more lawns, I've decided, and it takes it out of you. This is kind of it's hard bloody work. I don't mind. Funnily enough, tree planting, one thing, I can see the point of it, but lawns are good. They have their place. But like little lawns for lying on, little lawns for, I don't know, that's pretty much it, isn't it? But not massive, great big lawns to the exclusion of everything else. It's because there's a kind of lack of imagination. Anyway, lawns are my day car, and by that I mean my partner's doing a philosophy MA, and she's been studying Descartes, and Descartes has this whole kind of dualism, mind-body dualism, the start of the Enlightenment, and it's had this kind of pernicious effect on everything, on all intellectual endeavours, the division, and it's a kind of, lawns for me kind of are like Descartes. I fundamentally disagree with Descartes, and I fundamentally disagree with lawns, and I think they're boring and pointless. There, I said it. So lawns for me, lawns are my Descartes. So I'm not doing it anymore. This is far more interesting. This whole setup. This is brilliant. This is you can grow trees. You can work out. You can figure out what could be done there. The living space. It's like it's a functional space where you're actually you're creating habitat and ecosystems, and you're growing food, and it's just like so much more interesting. But anyway, rant over. I'm going to quick look at the chat, and then I'm going to say let's have a look now. Show chat. So, Chris is saying, where are you, Jake? So I've got I'm in Powys. That's all I am at liberty to divulge at the moment. But there it is. I'm going to start the Zoom meeting now. I haven't got a clue what the link is. The links will be on the newsletter. If anyone, I'm not going to be around for very much. I'm not going to be around very long on the Zoom chat. More to set it up for other people if other people would like to talk. But yes, I need to kind of get on and write things down and do lots of videos at this place for a client, and I've got to drive all the way back to Ceredigion to pick up the kids. So Zoom chat in a minute. Thank you very much for watching. Yeah, it's a bit of an odd one. I shall be getting back into the live stream swing of things next week. I am doing Forest Garden Rescue, and I'm starting again with the kind of course, so the backyard forest course. I'll be doing it start from scratch and do it again from site surveying like this, but in a much more kind of coherent and organised manner. Okay, thanks everyone for watching, and I shall see you soon. Cheers, bye.